Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Spec. Happy New Year to you all. I hope you had a wonderful 2023, and I hope you're having a great start to the new year here of 2024. And speaking of great starts, we're going to have a top 10 predictions for the year 2024 to kick off the channel in this calendar year. That is this video that we're watching here today. I'm going to predict 10 things that I think are going to occur in the comic book hobby. And then later on in 2025, we can look back and see how wrong I actually was. But of course, before I get into my predictions, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I would appreciate it. Help support the channel, doing those things. But let us get into this video here today. Now, the first bold prediction that I have for the year of 2024 is that it's actually going to be a wall book year. That is right, a wall book year. Shout out to Drew Como Comic Books, who boldly predicted last year that 2023 was going to be a bin book year. Well, I actually think that that was the case. A lot of collectors going into the bins, focusing on books, filling out their runs, things like that. Well, I think that now that those collectors have done that, and we're moving into 2024 here with the prices having corrected to where they are now, I think 2024 is going to go back to the wall. I think people are going to start to think about, okay, what are those grails that I want to target? What are those key books that I want to go for? I think dealers are finally accepting that here we are 3 years later, they can't actually have the 2021 sticker on those wall books anymore. At least you would think that that would be the case for dealers. Most dealers, I think, have come around to that. And I think that this is going to be a good year for collectors and dealers to, make deals on a lot of those wall books. So I would say where 2023 was a bin book year, I wouldn't be surprised if, when I go to comic book shows or talk to dealers and things like that, a lot of people are going to be talking about how they're finally able to move some of those higher end books, when you get to the 4-figure range and the 5-figure range, especially in this year as prices have corrected. All right, let's go on now to the second bold prediction for 2024. And my second bold prediction for 2024 is actually going to be turning the corner. Turning the corner. Of course, I'm sort of referring to my comic book index here, but I'm also generally speaking talking about values. Of course, if you guys know and been following my channel, I do the comic book index where I track the values of the top 100, historical keys within each age. Of course, the trend has been that we have been going down, on the snide since, essentially, some of the heights of 2021. Well, I think that 2024 is going to be the year that we finally turn that corner. Now, it may not actually be until Q3 of later on this year, but with everything going on with the macro economy, which I think has more to do with comic book values than that of pop cultural reasons like movie spec and things like that, a lot of the experts have been predicting that we're going to be seeing rate cuts as soon as March of 2024. And of course, with rate cuts, we're gonna have more money in the system. We're gonna go back to those days where we had lower interest rates and things like that. And that might start to increase some of the values of speculative assets, which of course, comic books can be that for a lot of people. So I think that there's going to be a certain point in this year where we actually turn the corner and we find our bottom as far as the comic book index values are concerned. Now, of course, this doesn't apply to every single book. Not every book is going to return to their 2021 values, but generally speaking, in the aggregate, I think that we are going to finally turn the corner for the values of comic books. All right, let's go on now to the third bold prediction for 2024 in the comic book hobby. And I have right here eBay Live. Now, that's not really a specific prediction. I'm just throwing it out here as eBay Live being a big factor in how we acquire comic books, how we purchase comic books in 2024, and a general thing for us to look out for. Now, a little bit of a caveat here. I had eBay Live as a bold prediction for 2023 because I thought that eBay Live was going to be released in 2023. And of course, I'm making this prediction under the assumption that eBay Live is in fact going to come out in this calendar year. And if it does come out this calendar year, I think it's going to cause a lot of disruption in the comic book market. I think eBay Live is going to be huge for comic book selling. I think that a lot of people are going to really enjoy the format. A lot of people who typically buy on eBay, which of course is the biggest portion of the secondary consumer market there is in all of comic books. I think a lot of those people who don't really tune into the claim sales, don't tune into whatnot, are going to be open to this idea of using eBay Live. I think we're going to see a lot of sellers going to that. I think that there's going to be a lot of drama and fallout in the way that we've seen drama with whatnot. I think there's going to be the same type of drama in eBay Live, because anytime there's selling and money and collectibles involved in anything, we always see drama in it. So I think that that is going to be something interesting to keep our eyes on. And then maybe the most interesting part of this all is, what if eBay Live sales will get recorded into things like Go Collect and GPA? Will those affect some of the fair market values of our books? Of course, eBay sold listings, as far as the buy it nows and the auctions and stuff, those do get calculated into GPA. But imagine a place where eBay Live values and the sales that happen on those particular shows also get incorporated into GPA and fair market values and things like that. What would that actually do to the market as far as the prices and where people see it? So that'll be something very, very interesting to look at. So whether it be just from a selling platform to values to community drama, I think eBay Live is going to play a big effect on the comic book market in 2024. All right, let's move on now to our fourth bold prediction of 2024. And my fourth bold prediction of 2024 is, simply put, politics. Yes, that is right, folks. We are going into an election year, and it pains me to say this, but I think politics are going to play a huge role in the comic book market as well. Of course, when we get to that election, it's going to be very, very charged. Here we are on social media, on YouTube. You guys know what it is. It's no matter what candidate you vote for, no matter what political party you're on, it's going to be very, very polarizing. It's going to be very, very emotional. There's going to be a lot of energy. There's going to be a lot of, stones being thrown at both sides of, the parties. And I think in the comic book market as well, as far as it relates to politics and the culture war in comic books, I think that we're going to see a lot of that, especially later on in the year. Maybe that has most to do with new comic books and current comic book publishing and things like that. I think that we're going to see a lot of very, very emotionally charged stuff when we get to that. And then ironically, in the secondary market, I actually think that political comic books might be something that people start to buy. Now, again, I'm not trying to pump this market. I'm not trying to tell you guys to go spec on, first cover appearances of Donald Trump or Barack Obama. But I do actually think that, like all things, when people have, politics on the mind, they're going to think about, oh, let me buy the collectible that has politics as well. All right, let's move on now to bold prediction number 5. And my bold prediction number 5 for the year of 2024 is actually going to be grading changes. Now, maybe this isn't really a bold prediction. I think this is a pretty safe prediction to make here in 2024. But, currently in the wake of everything going on with CGC and CBCS and the cases and security and all that stuff, I think that it is very likely that we are going to be hearing about graded changes coming out of these companies, whether it be, a new case, whether it be new policies, like, they're no longer going to do the reholdering program, whether it be, higher security, whatever it actually is. I think that we're going to be seeing a lot of changes with grading companies and graded comic books. And in the best case scenario, I think that that will restore a lot of trust and faith amongst the community for those comic book grading companies. So it'll be interesting to see what these companies actually decide to roll out in 2024. I think that the timeline for them, maybe doing new cases and stuff has probably been pushed up. They're going to at least have to talk about, what they're going to do to improve security for those cases. So I think that we're going to be getting news of that this calendar year. All right, let's move on now to prediction number 6 for the comic book hobby in 2024. And my bold prediction number 6 is actually going to be return to Spec. Return to Spec. Very, very interesting. Now, don't, shoot the messenger here. This is just something that I'm thinking is going to happen here in the comic book market. Now, of course, speculation. I know that a lot of people like to do it. A lot of people hate speculation in the comic book market. And of course, there's always going to be speculation in some way, shape, or form within comic books. But I actually think that in 2024, unironically, speculation is something that people are finally going to be able to do again and maybe be a little bit successful at. I think, in 2023 and 2022, a lot of spec was hard to do because all the prices were constantly coming down. I mean, certainly there were those books where if you were somebody who was speculating hard on, Taylor Swift Dazzler, you probably did very, very well in the wake of that news. But I think here in 2024, because we're only getting one superhero movie in this entire calendar year, whether it be MCU or James Gunn DC, I think that there's going to be a lot of time for people to sort of spin their wheels. Idle hands is the devil's play. And I think because we don't actually have movies to react to, that's when you're going to see a lot of collectors really starting to think about a lot of the speculation. I mean, if we rewind the clock back to 2020, 2020, when we didn't have any superhero properties, that was when some of the speculation was at its highest, because, you know, everybody was just thinking of what was eventually going to come. And even though the MCU brand has been severely hurt, even though people are not, you know, really hopeful of a lot of the DC stuff, you know, you can't get rid of speculation. It is a part of the hobby. And I think that there's going to be a lot of collectors doing it here in 2024. All right, let's move on now to bold prediction number 7. And my bold prediction number 7 is actually a very interesting one that I'm excited to see what comes of it here in this calendar year. But of course, my prediction here is actually going to be pulps. Simply put, pulps. Now, if you guys don't know, pulps were actually the thing that came before, you know, the genre of comic book. Those were sort of the stories that laid the foundation, you know, to move on to comic books. And CGC has announced that they are finally going to be grading pulps, and we are going to be getting, you know, the release of those cases, and we're going to be getting the release of, you know, whatever it is, the process in which they do their grading. Now, there's a whole, you know, separate video that I'm going to have to do to talk about pulps, you know, how they're doing them, talk about, you know, the trimming, the restoration. But I just generally have to say that, you know, pulp covers are some of the absolute best, you know, comic book covers there are in all of comic books. And I do actually think that there is a big subset of comic book collectors that are very interested in pulps. And I do think that, you know, when you start to introduce this idea of grading, when we start to actually understand, okay, what are the censuses for a lot of these pulps? What are some of the grades? You know, how rare is it in high grade? I do think that a lot of people will be moving to pulps. And when it starts to be understood, what are, you know, the real big boy pulp books that have the amazing covers that, you know, oh, look at how rare this is. Those are going to be the ones that people start to target. Those are going to be the ones that people start to talk about. And I really do think that 2024 is going to lay the foundation for pulps to finally play a big factor in the comic book hobby. All right, let's move on now to bold prediction number 8. And bold prediction number 8 is maybe a little more on my wish list, but I'm still going to say that it's a prediction because I have faith that we are going to be getting better writing in the year 2024. Now, I'm going to use this as an umbrella term for all comic book publishing, all, you know, movies and things like that. But I'm really talking about the big two. And I want to caveat this, my better writing statement here with, you know, there is good writing in comic books. There is a lot of great stories out there, a lot of great work being done. But generally speaking, I think that, you know, in this calendar year, I have a feeling that the publishing companies, you know, caught wind of Glenn from the Comic Book Palace. They heard what he had to say. They've heard some of the voices. And I think that there's going to be a return to, you know, telling good stories, thinking about, you know, how we can excite people around current comic books once again. I think the idea of just knocking out banger variant covers and just doing, you know, foils and things like that, a lot of retailer store exclusives, that type of bubble has sort of died down a little bit. And I do think that, you know, at least in this current calendar year, the big publishing companies are going to be looking at, okay, how can we tell a really cool crossover event? How can we put stakes into this stuff? And how can we get readers back into comic book stores here in this calendar year? And I think that that's going to be an investment on, you know, telling better stories and hiring, you know, maybe seasoned writers, or at least letting writers, giving them the time and opportunity to tell the stories that they want to tell. So I actually do think that here in 2024, we're going to be getting a lot of good current comic books. Now, bold prediction number 9, though, which is sort of related to better writing, is this other one on kind of the other end of the spectrum, which is actually going to be AI art acceptance. AI art acceptance. Now, AI art has been a huge thing, obviously, you know, in not just the comic book market, but in, you know, other forms of media and things like that. And AI art is on the rise. AI everything is on the rise, whether it be in video form or, you know, ChatGPT and things like that. But I actually think that here in 2024, AI art is going to be finally kind of accepted in the comic book hobby. I mean, my Super Bowl prediction would be like, maybe this year we're going to see something like Todd McFarlane using AI art to do his very first Todd McFarlane AI piece. You know, I actually think that we're going to see some adoption from some of the big artists using this tool to tell stories, to create art, and to explore some different ideas that maybe they couldn't have executed with their own craft. So I think that, you know, we're going to start to see that. And then on the other end of it, I think that, you know, this idea that it's kind of a dirty thing to do, to use AI art for your comic book cover or to use AI art to tell a story, I think that we're generally going to start to see acceptance because people are going to start to use it as a tool to tell interesting stories. All right, bold prediction number 10, the final prediction that I have going into 2024, and I'm just going to put it with one word, and that is community. I think that community is going to be huge in 2024, where in 2023, I had a prediction of negativity being a big part of what we were going to see in 2023, because I felt like, okay, it's going to be a tough year economically. We're going to have a lot of infighting in the community, in the hobby. There's going to be a lot of people going at each other, and there's going to be, generally speaking, a lot of negativity. I think that we're going to get, still some of that. I mean, it is comic books, and again, like I mentioned with the politics prediction, we're still going to get some of that for sure in this hobby. But generally speaking, I also think that this is going to be a big year for community. I think it's going to be a return to, finding your own little niche of people that you enjoy hanging out with, that you enjoy socializing with, really fostering those aspects of the community, fostering those relationships, and finding, fun in the hobby once again. I think comic shows are going to be great this year. I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy going to the shows. I'm going to work on some, projects here with my channel and try to build some community things and ideas and events and try to really build upon that. And then again, my critique to the big two publishing of DC and Marvel was that I felt like they did very little for the community as far as, content pieces and organizing events and things like that. And again, this is maybe a little more wish list than it is prediction, but I would think that we're going to see a little more from those companies, doing a little more outreach to the community. I mean, hey, Marvel DC, just hit me up. I'll help you out. I certainly can get it done for you. So I think that we're going to see community as a big factor in 2024 because, hey, community is what it is all about at the end of the day. That is the best part about this hobby. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. Those were my 10 bold predictions for 2024. Let me know what you guys think. What are your predictions going into 2024? We'll definitely check back, on this video, a year from now, see how right or wrong I actually was. Anyways, I hope you guys had a wonderful New Year's Eve. I hope you guys are having a great start to this year. Thanks so much for subbing to the channel, tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in 2024.